Oh, that's the Sam Bradford I know. Sleevey Wonder being Sleevey Wonder. Purple rain, purple rain. Yeah! Eagles reign supreme. 21-10 win over the mighty Vikings today. Wow, just happened. Less than 30 minutes ago. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedque. I mean, we basically call it.
I mean, what can you say? This was a game that was just an old school, dominant performance by the Eagles defense. And really, the credit today goes to Jim Schwartz. He was a guy, the heat was on him after really coming out with some, bad to poor defensive game plans the previous two games. And he knew that today he needed to do something to mix it up. And that's what he did today. He kind of got away from his norm today. And what he decided to do was, instead of just getting pressure with his front four, he decided to bring some blitzes too, from all over the place, especially with the cornerbacks and the safeties. So mixed it up there, got away from what he normally really does. And it actually helped out the Eagles because he knew that Bradford wasn't going to be a guy that was going to be able to escape the pocket. And he really did a great job of rattling Bradford. And really, I mean, the first quarter was a disaster from both teams. It was something that I've never seen before. You rarely see it in the NFL where a game starts off with 5 consecutive turnovers. I believe the stat that they brought up was the first time since 2005 or something. So just a horrible start for both teams. But I think really the horrible start affected Bradford for the rest of the game.
You know what's crazy about that 5 turnover stretch? I did the 1980 NFC divisional playoff between the Eagles and Vikings for my Flashback Friday post this week. And the Vikings turned the ball over 8 times in the second half in that game. And there was like 6 out of 7 possessions in the second half where, both teams were turning the ball over. That game was just as sloppy as this one today. Sloppier than a freshman on Thursday. Very, very sloppy. So, I mean, in that game, the Vikings, I believe they had 4 interceptions on the last 4 drives. So a lot of that today. And I mean, I was stressing this in the preview show. Our biggest advantage is the Vikings' biggest weakness. So their offensive line got completely manhandled. Vikings fans were very, very naive coming into this game. I heard it all in the comments section in our preview show. And guess what? I was right about everything. So TJ Clemmings, Jake Long, Jeremiah Searles, whatever the fuck his name is, those 3 kind of rotated at tackle. They got absolutely dominated. Eagles had 6 sacks. Bradford, he had 4 fumbles, I believe, and 2 of them were lost. Bradford got rattled early, and, I mean, that deer in headlights look came out really, really soon.
Oh, yeah. Bradford has that classic look where his eyes were glassed over, he was dazed and confused, and that's because really everybody along that Eagles defensive line, and then, including the cornerbacks and the safeties, they did a great job of getting after Bradford and confusing him. And I think that, Bradford's going to have a little bit of a sore right arm tomorrow because the Eagles were hacking away at that thing and just causing, one turnover after another, and just a dominant performance by the Eagles defense. And I know that Jim Johnson would be proud of Schwartz for coming up with this game plan.
Yeah, Bradford was just really, really bad today. The decision-making, he had a lot of overthrows. Turned the ball over in the red zone. We know all about that, right, Philly? We know about that. So Bradford was the Bradford that I know today. Those first 4 games, he looked really good. But today, the pressure got tough. It got going, and he folded. This is what Sam Bradford does.
Yeah, he folded up his chair and he was taking it back.
Like
there you go. Yeah, he was taking that chair back to Minnesota pretty fast today. You could just tell, even the way that the game started. I mean, Carson Wentz, definitely had his worst performance of the season. He looked like a rookie today, but at the same time, Bradford looked very bad as well. And, the difference between really Bradford and Wentz today was that Wentz wasn't afraid to stay aggressive. Wentz went out there. He was still aggressive. And even though he continued to struggle, he was able to move the Eagles down the field a little bit there. And especially, at the end of the third quarter, he was able to get the Eagles into the end zone. So you got to give Wentz credit for that. And, we've seen this we saw this with Bradford, last season in Philadelphia when he's getting rattled and he's feeling the heat. He really just, folds it up like you said. It's a lot of dinks and dunks, and that's really what it came down to at the end of the game when the Vikings really needed to hurry up the offense and get some fast touchdowns. He was still dinking and dunking.
Yeah. Vikings fans were trying to tell me he wasn't dinking and dunking this year, but he came into the game 29th in air yards, and we saw it today. I mean, Troy Aikman was making fun of him at the end of the game. Like, why are you dinking and dunking, dude? Like, you're down 21-3, and there's like 5 minutes left in the game, and he little dump off to the running back, another dump off to the running back, another one. Just like that's what it was today. So Bradford was terrible, and Wentz wasn't that much, better. But like you were saying, he at least made some plays in the second half, playing a little backyard football. Terrible snap by Jason Kelce. That's another subject for another day. But terrible snap by Kelce. He rolls to his right, whatever the hell he did. He finds Sproles there. Was it Sproles or was it Matthews? I forget already. But that was a great play. And
Sproles.
Yeah, it was Sproles. Okay. Yeah, Matthews was the one where, he along the left sideline, he little leap at the end. So Wentz, made some plays in the second half, and I think what really helped them was the Eagles kind of got a ground game established. They were running the ball. I mean, it was tough sledding, but Ryan Matthews was running hard today. Yeah, he had to fumble at the end. Jesus, fuck. I mean, you'd think he'd learned his lesson, but he was running hard today. The blocking was pretty good. Jason Peters had some nice blocks. Brandon Brooks had some nice blocks before he got hurt. So they ran the ball again a lot to the left, keeping it away from Vaitai. And I think Doug really called a good second half. First half, no. Second half, yes.
Yeah, well, by now looking at the game tape yet, I think today it seemed like that the Eagles, I don't know if they helped out Vaitai more, if he just performed better, but he definitely wasn't, hurting us like he did last week against the Redskins. So we'll go back and we'll see on the game tape. But, that's a positive sign that he just wasn't getting blown up every play. Now, there were still plays where he was definitely getting bull rushed and being thrown back a little bit. And I think, those are the things that's kind of, I think, throwing off Wentz's timing a little bit. Because with Vaitai getting pushed back, Wentz is not used to that. With Lane Johnson wouldn't get pushed back in the pocket. So Wentz is still adjusting to that, I think, and you kind of saw early on. That's why Wentz was struggling with some of his throws because he had to step up in the pocket. And so that's on Wentz. I mean, he was making some bad decisions, especially in the first half. The second half is kind of where you saw a lot of Wentz's athleticism. And you saw things that Wentz can do that Bradford can't do. And that's kind of the reason why the Eagles were able to outduel the Vikings on offense.
Yeah, Wentz's ball placement today wasn't good at all. Even on like those wide receiver screens, he was putting the ball on the wrong shoulder. So, instead of having that little head of steam going forward, they weren't having head of steam going forward. He was just throwing the ball a little bit behind. First interception, let the ball sail. Second interception, he threw it into like a quartet of Vikings defenders. So it wasn't a good first half for him at all. But he did play a little bit better in the second half. And just to comment on Vaitai, I think he just performed a little bit better today. He seemed like, he was using his hands a lot better. He wasn't getting like overextended like last week. Again, yeah, we're going to have to check out the game film for sure. Because it seemed like Doug was doing kind of the same stuff, a lot with the chipping and stuff. So I didn't see many double teams. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, he played better today. So instead of like an F, he got like a C-.
Yeah, and I think that what really helped today is that it was a home game for us. So really with Vaitai, it's going to be, the road games, which are going to be a problem. So obviously next week, against the Cowboys, Sunday Night Football in Dallas, it's going to be a huge test for him and really a huge test for the offensive line with the sound and everything. So we'll see how he performs in that game. But, I mean, if there's any positives with Big B, it's that he definitely made a big step forward today, considering how badly he played last week against Washington. But really, I mean, when you look at this Eagles offense today, I think they played relatively well, considering that they were going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL. So you really can't, blame this too much on the Eagles offense today. You also got to give credit to the Vikings defense. They've got some very talented players there. So, but the thing that's concerning about the Eagles offense right now is their offensive line. And I mean, you've got guys all along that offensive line that are continuing to make penalties, especially holding penalties. And that's the thing that's really going to, set this Eagles offense back. They've got to figure out a way to clean up these penalties, or otherwise they're not going to be able to go out and, win in this tough stretch that they have here. Yeah,
holding penalties, the ultimate drive killer. Barbary had like 2 or 3 penalties today. Jason Kelsey had another one. Vaitai had a false start. That's just from the top of my head. They had 7 penalties in all, so they actually went down in that area today. I mean, the offensive line, just so many flags. That's got to stop. It really does. So hopefully Brandon Brooks is okay. Saw a little bit of Steven Wisniewski there in the second half, a little whiz-wit for him. The other thing I want to say about Wentz too, you kind of brought this up a little bit. The timing is a little bit off because he's so scared of him being pressured and having to step up in the pocket. He's getting rid of the ball a little bit too soon, like we saw with the Aguilar, down the right sideline. If he waits another second, that could have been a touchdown. So because Aguilar kind of got behind the secondary there.
Yeah, so thanks to Lane Johnson, we got to deal with this situation now. So, yeah, you're right, though. Wentz has to get that timing back, and it's just really a matter of him getting adjusted to, a new lineman there in Big V. And then also when guys go down and guys like Wisniewski have to come in, it's all about, getting the timing together. So, all in all, it was not a good performance from Wentz. It was definitely a rookie performance, but I would say at the same time, he overcame those early turnovers, and when it really mattered in the second half, he was able to keep the Eagles, in the lead, and he was able to deliver, that key touchdown there late in the third quarter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And by the way, just a comment on Lane Johnson. So you get 10 games for amino acids, but you can smack around your wife and it's totally okay. The NFL needs to change. Josh Brown, you're a fucking piece of shit. And, I mean, he's a Giant, so does it really surprise you? Okay. So, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about Josh Huff. Because I said before the game, I was like, fuck, dude. Bryce Treggs is active. I want to see some Bryce Treggs today. I mean, what can he do that's possibly worse than Josh Huff? And then Josh Huff goes out there and makes me eat a little bit of crow today. I had a little kickoff return for a touchdown. He gets about 2.6 on the flip. Terrible flip into the end zone. And it wasn't even just that. I mean, he was running with some fire today, after the catch on his screen passes. So, the little swing passes that they like to run with him. So I thought Huff played well. I don't know what his final stats were, but that was a different Josh Huff today than I've seen all season.
Well, I wish we could see that Josh Huff a lot more often than we do. Yeah. He usually has about one good game this season. So, well, that came today, so it's over with. So now he's going to go back and hide for a while. Yeah. But even when he was returning that, the kickoff for a touchdown, I knew that he just couldn't run across the goal line like a normal guy. He has to do the flip into the end zone, and thank God he didn't lose the ball while doing the flip. Oh, man. The guy is – and then he has to take off his helmet and celebrate like this. That was just a huge touchdown in the game. It was a big touchdown, but I mean, it wasn't like a playoff game or the Super Bowl. So the guy's a head case. There's no doubt about it. And he just gets too excited when he makes a good play. But hey, got to give him a pat on the back today. He did a good job. Maybe if we can continue to use him like we did today, then that'll be a positive thing. You just really got to use him to his strengths, and not because he's not really a wide receiver. He's more of a running back per se.
He's a gadget player.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a wildcat guy, but a wildcat guy that doesn't line up on their center.
Yeah, because he's good after the catch, so you just kind of put the ball in his hands and see what he can do. That's how you got to, the little jet sweeps and the screen passes, even the quick slants. He can take a quick slant to the house. We saw it last year against Tampa Bay. So those are his strengths. I want to comment on that first drive of the second half. So the Eagles, they come out, they get 2 sacks on that first drive. And I don't know if that was the one where McLeod came on a safety blitz or not. But, 2 sacks there. And then Eagles, they go right down the field. They slowly matriculate down the field. 9 plays, 77 yards. DGB catches his first touchdown as an Eagle, takes 5:51 off the clock. And right when that touchdown happened, I was like, I knew the game was over.
Yeah, that was a drive there where Kelsey had some problems with the snap. Yeah. And Wentz had to do some maneuvering and just really make some really athletic plays to keep the drive going. And then, the DGB got his first touchdown as an Eagle. So congrats to him. It took him long enough. Now, just kidding.
Dude, he's like so up and down. Ugh.
Yeah, he really is. At this point, you know what you're going to get from him. It's not going to be much, but he'll make a play here and there. So, good. At first, I was worried he didn't get the ball across the goal line, but he got it across, thank God. But, yeah, so that drive there was really the drive of the game because it really iced the victory for the Eagles.
Yeah. Let's talk about Doug and his big balls. So he goes for it on a 4th and 2. Now, you knew Wentz – I just had a feeling Wentz was going to, keep the ball there. And then – so not only do you go for the 4th and 2, they also went for 2 after the Huff touchdown because of personal foul after the play. So you got half this is the goal. You got the play got the ball at the 1-yard line and a little quarterback draw. So I kind of like that. When you get that penalty on the extra point, especially this game today and because points were at a premium, I like that call going for 2. So I thought it was like the way it was going to go. I thought it was like going to be the reason why they were going to win. But obviously the Eagles kind of dominated this game. It was 21-10, so it didn't really come back to be anything. But I like that Doug was aggressive today. Aggressive both sides, offense and defense.
Yeah, I liked it too, especially early on there. Like you said, with that, after you get the personal foul for running into the kicker, then you decide, well, we're actually going to go for 2 now. And it's smart because, at that point in the game, kind of, knew it was really going to be a defensive struggle in this game, especially with the wind conditions. It was really gusty. It was going to be tough to make field goals. So the Eagles figured, why not go for 2? If you can get those 2 points there, it'll really be huge. It could decide the game. It didn't in the end, but it could have been huge if it was a close game. So, and then also, like you mentioned, going for it on 4th down. We've kind of seen this all along here with Doug, with him having these big balls. And so far, it's really paid off. They're really seems like I don't know what their stats are on 4th down, but they've got a very high conversion rate.
Yeah, and that's, when you have that threat of Carson Wentz, it really helps. So, this 2-point thing, it's kind of like something that Mike Tomlin has kind of started. He kind of goes for 2 a lot. And I don't know. I kind of like it when you have a Carson Wentz. and you can run the quarterback draw, and you can run the read option and zone read type of stuff. And if there's penalties, I don't mind going for 2. I'm like, you're going to convert it more than 50% of the time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of how Tomlin uses the 2-point conversion, and I wish the Eagles would use that style of play more, because I really like going for 2, especially how the field goals extra point now is pushed back. And Caleb Sturgis, he's done well, but I still don't trust the guy. So I would rather go for 2, especially a day like today when you have the wind like it was. Definitely go for 2. It's definitely worth a shot, especially after you get a penalty like that and the ball is closer to the goal line. I was a tad worried there for a second when Wentz, took the snap and went for that quarterback sneak, because I thought he was going to get his head taken off, and thank God he didn't.
Let's talk more about the defense. Brandon Graham, Connor Barwin, Vinny Curry. They were viciously bull rushing these tackles, and they were just relentless in pursuit of Bradford today. So not only them, but the other guy I wanted to comment on too is Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks was flying around everywhere today. So he shoots into the backfield. He has a tackle for loss. The other one where he single-handedly almost causes an interception by himself. Like that play was amazing. So he was flying around. He was instinctive today. And, he's been kind of quietly effective this year, but today was the game where he really shined.
Yeah, well, as far as the defensive ends goes, they were very hungry, and Bradford must have had a cheesesteak on his head, because they were going right after it every single play. I mean, they wanted not 1 cheesesteak, 2, 3. They wanted 4, 5, 6 cheesesteaks, and that's what they got. They got 6 cheesesteaks today, and then they got some extra toppings on it when they got those strips and the fumble recoveries. And then you talk about Jordan Hicks. Now this guy, he's a guy who's kind of really hasn't gotten the praise that he deserves this season. He's kind of gone under the radar. He's been having a good season, but today was kind of the Jordan Hicks that we remember from last season, when he just is playing really good football. And you saw it today, and you mentioned that one play where, he almost got an interception by himself when he just, he sprinted into the backfield. And that's like when I really realized, I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is freaking fast. Like, he made up some ground in a short amount of time. And I think Bradford was a little bit surprised too. And that's what allowed him to get to Bradford so fast and get that bat and almost get the interception.
Yeah, the instincts and closing speed were on full display today. That's for sure. Another guy I wanted to comment on, Bo Allen, starting in place of Benny Logan today. And we've talked about this so many times. I mean, Bo Allen is so underrated. If Benny Logan goes out, obviously Logan's a great player, but Bo Allen is pretty damn good himself. And he was very, very stout today against the run. All the Eagles were. But obviously this was a Vikings team that only averaged 2.5 yards per carry coming in. So not a great running attack, not a great offensive line. And, obviously defensive line completely overwhelmed them today.
Yeah, Bo Allen is a guy that, we've been talking about ever since they drafted him. It was such a great draft pick, considering that they got him in the 7th round, and love the guy. Like you said, it definitely sucks when Benny Logan can't play, but you really, we have the utmost confidence that Bo Allen's going to be able to go in there and take the place of Benny Logan and really put up about the same amount of production, and he kind of did that today. The guy's a force in there, so got to give credit to Bo Allen. Really, like you said, he's like that underrated guy, almost like when Cedric Thornton was here. He's very underrated, kind of overlooked, but Bo Allen's a guy that you can't overlook because, well, he's got that big belly.
Let's talk about the secondary, because this today was, I've made this point before. When you can pressure the quarterback, it hides your deficiencies at cornerback. And they did a great job on the Vikings receivers. Stephon Diggs, I believe, only had 2 catches for 18 yards, leading Vikings receiver coming in. So, Ron Brooks got hurt, obviously. So he got carted out. Hopefully his knee injury isn't too serious. But I think Leotis McKelvin's return made a difference. He played today, right?
Yeah, McKelvin. Yeah, he definitely made a difference.
Because I know Mills was actually in a couple plays, and that kind of should have been a pass interference, but whatever, it's all good. McKelvin's return made a difference.
Yeah, McKelvin actually almost jumped that. He did jump that one route on Bradford. Yeah. It was a pass to, I think, Rudolph, and he almost picked it off. It was a hell of a pickup by McKelvin to read that play by Bradford. Almost got it, but yeah. But this kind of goes into our next point here, because I know that we've especially been concerned about this, especially when Ron Brooks went down. The Eagles are extremely thin in the secondary, and every game now it's been someone going down with an injury, and especially with McKelvin, he's how hamstring injuries are, they can linger for a long time. So at some point, I think the Eagles are really going to have to consider having C.J. Smith active on game day, and he's probably going to have to see some playing time because they're so thin at the position. I mean, we're seeing Malcolm Jenkins have to come and play in the slot now multiple times because guys are just getting injured, and we don't have enough guys in the secondary. And this also brings up the point where the Eagles, when they decided to trade Eric Rowe to the Patriots, I think when you look back at all the moves that they made this offseason, I think that's the move where Howie Roseman got way too much confidence. He was way too cocky, and he went a bit overboard. And I think that's the move maybe down the line this season that could really hurt them, especially if they get a really bad injury to one of their cornerbacks, possibly with Ron Brooks that they just had.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. At the time, I didn't like it. I know he wasn't a great schematic fit, so to speak. At least that's what they were saying. But, I don't see how Rowe could have been worse than what we've seen out of Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills has been terrible. He hasn't been that good at all. So, he's fighting out there. He's still wagging his finger. But, Eric Rowe's a pretty good football player. And, dude, I watched that New England-Cincinnati game last week. He did a pretty damn good job on A.J. Green. So, Rowe, I would have kept him. I would have stayed patient. He only got like a 4th-round pick for him. So, that move to me just never made any sense. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, considering that the Eagles decided to, move up in the 2nd round to get him. And then you only get a 4th-round pick in return for him. So, it really doesn't make much sense. And like I said, I think that was a move where Howie started to get, too cocky with the solid moves that he had made in the offseason, especially trading up and able to get Wentz. And, that's the move that's going to probably end up hurting him here because Rowe is looking pretty good with the Patriots right now.
Yeah. Special teams. We talked about this a little bit late in our preview show, but games like this, close games, well, not close games, but close matchups coming in, and where special teams can make a difference. And not only was it Josh Huff, but it was also on the punt return unit as well. They forced a fumble on was it Marcus Sherrills, and Burton had that recovery. So Caleb Sturgis made all of his kicks. Fuck you, Caleb, I guess. I will still never let that Washington game go from last year, but Eagles special teams made a big difference today.
Yeah, and that was something that Chip Kelly really prided himself here in Philadelphia, was on the special teams, and he really did. People, if they can bash Chip Kelly all they want, but the one thing that you got to thank him for is he brought some really solid special teams players here to Philadelphia, and that's when Brayman and Chris Maragos. Those guys are special players on special teams, and every week you see them making big plays. And I guess if you want to consider Josh Huff one of those guys, you can. Even though he doesn't do much, he did something today on special teams. So I think that's where you got to give Kelly some credit. He did a nice job of building a really solid special teams unit here, and it's still paying dividends for us today.
Oh, yeah. Trey Burton, Chris Maragos. I mean, those guys are just outstanding. I mean, they're awesome. So just a comment on the Vikings defense again. I'll tell you what, every inch that the Eagles gained today was tough. Every little 3rd and 4, the little stop routes on the outside. I believe it was a hitch. DGB couldn't catch it on the first possession. I don't know what the fuck that was all about. But then later on in the game, Aguilar makes the same play. So, people may not agree with this, but Aguilar is playing better than DGB right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that one. Aguilar is making the tougher catches at this point and really coming up with some key catches. Aguilar has definitely had his fair share of drops, but he's definitely playing better than DGB. That one drop by DGB that you just mentioned early in the game was just baffling. I mean, he's like, the ball hits him like right in the chest, and it's like he's confused that the ball was actually going to come to him. Like, dude, you're a wide receiver. That's your job. Once you're going to make the throw, it's right there. You got to catch it, man. So, when you look going forward, especially in this tough stretch that we have with our schedule, the Eagles are going to have to get off the faster starts. I mean, we can't continue to come out and play like this. So they got to figure out a way to catch the ball early on and do some things to get the offense going early.
No, that's a great point, because the Vikings could have really put a stamp on things early on. And thank you, Sam. Thank you. You were outstanding today. You did everything I could have hoped for. So that interception was so bad. Oh my God. Like, dude, because it was awful. You had the interception on the second possession, was it? And then you had like the muff snap with Sproles, and like, oh God, it was awful. But Bradford kept giving us gifts. Thanks, man.
Yeah, and something that is going to go overlooked here. But when you go back and watch the game film, look at that pick that we had, or for the Wentz pick that he threw. Wentz actually made the tackle on that play and prevented a touchdown. Who was it that picked it off again?
Andrew Sendejo.
Yeah. And he got injured too, and he was out for the rest of the game, I think. So that was actually Wentz was the guy who got him by his ankles and prevented him from going into the end zone. And that was key, because, I mean, it really could have changed the way the whole entire game went. Instead of the Vikings being up 7-0, it ends up still being 0-0 because Eagles are able to come away with that interception as well. So I was really shocked that we came away with 0-0 after that. I thought we were going to be down at least 3-0. So the fact that we came away 0-0 was definitely a win. And I knew from that point going forward that we were in Bradford's head. And like you said, Bradford did an outstanding job just throwing the game away to us.
Yeah. I can only think of like 2 good throws he had. He had a good throw to Kyle Rudolph on a 3rd down, and he had, that infamous wheel route that he likes to throw. Yeah, he had one of those too to Adam Thielen. So, but besides that, man, he was awful. The final stats actually looked better than he played, because he had like 4 or 5 overthrows. And I don't know if it was the wind today or what, but he really, really struggled.
Yeah, the problem was when he was with the Eagles, he had the advantage because when it was halftime, they would change his diaper, they would give him a new bottle and everything. But now that he's on the opposing team, he doesn't have that luxury.
All right. I got no other topics that I can think about. So maybe final thoughts now, unless you got something.
Final thoughts. I think that we have to be happy with today's win. I mean, beating a team that was coming in here undefeated and going up against the defense that they have, one of the better defenses in the NFL. And really, the positive thing is that we were able to get this performance out of Wentz's system. And now he can go back and he can learn from this game and look at the mistakes that he made. But it's good for Wentz to be able to face such a challenging defense like this for the first time in his career. So he'll be able to bounce back, I think, from this game. And I think it's, positive looking forward. And now I think these next two games are really what's going to decide the rest of the Eagles season. These next two games are ginormous for the Eagles. And if they could somehow manage to win both of them, I think they would be in a great spot. But the challenge is going to be having to go on the road and win. So that's the biggest challenge for this Eagles team.
Actually, something I did kind of forget to talk about. I did think Minnesota was just kind of overrated coming in. They were 5-0, but all of a sudden that win against the Packers and that win against Carolina, all of a sudden doesn't look so hot. And they really haven't beaten anybody else. So they were riding their defense. Bradford was just whatever. I mean, sure, he had a good touchdown to interception ratio, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But, I watched a lot of Vikings tape coming into this week, and I was just like, I wasn't really that impressed. So I think the Cowboys is going to be a bigger test than the Vikings. And I'm a little bit scared about this Dallas game, a little bit. Just because Dallas has a great offensive line. If we can't get pressure, then our secondary might get exposed, just like Washington. So we struggled against, been struggling a little bit against the run. Obviously, we know they have Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line. So, it might be a struggle in Big D. We shall see. But their defense isn't that great either. So we'll see what happens. I mean, history says that we win in Dallas and then they come and beat us at the Link. That's kind of the way it's been. I don't know. We'll see. But this Minnesota win, it was great, but I do think the Vikings are a little bit overrated.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. The Vikings are definitely a bit overrated, and I think with the Vikings this season, they've kind of been able to get away with the offensive line that they had because they've up to this point this season, they really didn't go up against a dominant defensive line like they did today in the Eagles, and you could see that when they're going to go up against these dominant defensive lines, they're going to struggle big time. And that's when the Vikings got Bradford, I think we kind of expected Bradford to play like he did today. That's the kind of Bradford that we remember. When he starts to get pressure in his face and he starts to get rattled and get that look, that's when things go downhill. And he doesn't have that positive attitude where he's going to be aggressive and be able to bring you back from a large deficit. He's just going to dink and dunk and get you down the field. So that's why the Vikings really rely on their defense to kind of help them win games. But when the Vikings are in a deficit like they were today, it's going to be tough for them to come back and win when they get so far behind because of those reasons with Bradford. Yeah.
All right, final thoughts for me. I don't know. Temple won. That's great. Fuck Penn State. They won yesterday. So, yeah. Fuck that. But, yeah, man, good performance today. I mean, the game went exactly how I thought it would. I did think it'd be a little closer, but great win today, So 4-2 now. And hopefully, this stretch coming up, they can just kind of survive it. And, so we'll see what happens. But the Vikings, to me, they have the feel of a 12-4 team that loses in the divisional round. That's what they're going to do because they do have an easy schedule. So I think they'll rack up a bunch of wins. They'll be like the 1 or 2 seed, and then they're just going to lose. I don't have confidence in this team. I don't think they're that great. So, you can rebuttal that, and then we'll close the show. Unless you want to just
– Yeah, no, I was going to say, actually, it would kind of be ironic if the Eagles somehow managed to make the playoffs and then they faced them again in the playoffs because I think that would actually be a favorable matchup for the Eagles. So hopefully that happens. So we'll see. But, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to playing them again in the playoffs.
I would love to play them again. Please. Instead of Seattle, I would love to play them. Oh, please. I'd be chomping at the bit. So, yeah. Mike Owens, I'm Adrian Fenke. We're out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the recap show. I will be providing a recap for Philly Influencer in a couple hours when I feel like doing it. So I got to eat some dinner. I'm fucking starving. Starving just like those Eagles defensive linemen today. We're out. Peace.
Later.